Okay, so we've talked about this in the past. There was a rumor that a new edition of the PlayStation 5 Slim would be appearing, and the contentious point about it would be a downgrade in the storage. This model has now appeared, and Austin Evans, who has a track record of like tracking down these new revisions as and when they appear, and then basically ripping them apart, has done so again. We do have a new PlayStation 5 Slim. The storage has been cut back. It is now 825 gigabytes rather than the 1 terabyte of the existing model. There are other things about it which are actually a bit more attractive, I think. And it is purely aesthetic from my point of view. It's just the fact that the shiny plastics have now been replaced by fully matte versions, which actually, it just makes the whole console look a lot more attractive from my perspective. But it is a shame, obviously, that you're losing, the one upgrade that the Slim brought about. John, did you have a look at that video? What do you think?
I did, and I completely agree with you that the change to a matte material for everything is a hugely welcome change. I think we've seen it time and again that these glossy materials, glossy plastics specifically, do not age well. You just look at them funny, they gain scratches.
You're quite right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you literally take it out of the box, and you're like, what? Like, how is there scratches on this already?
The worst one is the VCR Xbox, which, I literally just took it out of the box, and like by the time I'd got to sort of working with it the next day, there were like a whole bunch of scratches on the plastic, which was like, how did that happen?
I always go back and forth between the VCR Xbox and the original PS3.
Yeah,
those were both nightmarish in that regard, like just the worst. And PS5 itself wasn't too bad overall, I'd say, just that slim section. But still, as Austin shows in the video, like over time, you're plugging USB stuff in, that shiny plastic gets kind of boogered up, if you will. And it just doesn't look great. And so like switching to full matte material, I think is going to make it look better long term. So I think that part is cool. Obviously the loss in storage, that's an interesting one. I don't like it's not good, but it's also like not so much storage that it feels like it's like a huge deterrent necessarily. You know what I mean? I feel like if you're really serious about storing games, you're probably going to throw in an extra SSD in there anyway, NVMe drive. So
right.
Still, it's like wasn't it? It's like 840 versus 600 something, 660 when you compare them in terms of available usable space, right? Like you don't get the full 825 versus 1 terabyte on a system because some of it's used up by the operating system and other things. But other than that, it doesn't seem. He did go over some like thermals and stuff. Do you remember the results on that, Rich?
Basically, it didn't seem to have a huge amount of impact on what was going on there. The whole thing looks like just a sort of a revision of the existing model. It's still seemingly on the same 6 nanometer SoC, and the power draw seemed to be the same. They just made revisions to the to the internal heatsink arrangement, and also
like the heat piping. It's like rearranged a little bit, and
and the steel sort of internal casing as well has been lightened significantly. So it is another cost reduction, right? I think the way these things work is they put out a model, and there's a certain degree of latitude in how certain degree of conservatism in the design just to make sure it's going to be okay, and then across the year they get a year's worth of telemetry that enables them to say, hey, actually we don't need to do this much, or we could pare that back, it should be okay. And obviously that will chime with their internal testing as well. But not a huge story to say here, apart from the fact that you are getting less storage. Austin seemed a bit confused about the fact that the lower tier model has more more SSD NAND flash modules, and that's simply down to the fact that they're smaller capacity modules than the ones that are in the Slim. So you need more of them. I'm assuming, obviously, they're saving money on that. Oliver, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so when you look at this, there are kind of a lot of interesting smaller revisions, like you mentioned, to kind of keep prices in check. I'd assume here they have a lot of telemetry from existing PS5 models, from existing PS5 Slim models. They know how and when their consoles fail. and they've been able to invest engineering time and consult with their production partners, surely. And the result here is a more tightly engineered console, I think, with some cutbacks, some thinner kind of material on the plate there, a fan that is a little bit lighter, probably marginally cheaper, a redesigned heatsink that's a little bit lighter, obviously the smaller SSD. This isn't as stark as like the earlier PS5 revisions. Like the first console revision had that huge chunk taken out of the heatsink to the point where it made people very concerned.
Yeah.
But I think here kind of the conservatism of the design and the kind of light tweaks in the design suggest a close to perfected console here within modern constraints. They're really just trying to iterate on in small ways. I don't think these changes should concern prospective users, because I think Sony is designing their consoles with long lifespans in mind. They have a lot of telemetry. They want you to use their console for 10 years. I think Sony's very proud of the fact they still have tens of millions of users on PlayStation 4 playing their games and investing in their content and services. So I think the longevity of the hardware is a key priority for Sony, as well as getting the price down as far as possible. And obviously that 825 gigabyte hit helps with the price. Now, I did a little bit of research on this, and they're probably saving about $10, $12 in the bill of materials, which is, probably reasonable for what they're trying to achieve here. But there are some caveats, like on PS5, it's super easy to upgrade the SSD hardware with just generic kind of commodity hardware there. And I actually think that the size of games has been trending down in some ways, especially on UE5, like Silent Hill F is 36 gigabytes. Borderlands 4, I think, is 30 gigabytes. Most games nowadays have not really ballooned in size, in part because of the addition of like RTGI systems in many engines. The addition of Nana in UE5, that's certainly been very helpful. So I don't think 825 gigabytes is too small for users to get what they want out of PS5, especially given that like enthusiasts have the PS5 consoles already. These are mostly new users. I don't think they have as strict demands in the storage. And if they're able to fit Fortnite on there, Call of Duty on there, a few other games on there, I think they'll generally be happy. Because you still have a good amount of storage here, right? You still have like 660 gigabytes odd of storage. That's going to be enough for a fair number of games, I'd venture, on the PS5 hardware.
Yeah, I think something which was pointed out by Video Games Chronicle this week is that the arrival of a new model is actually causing, certainly in the UK at least, price cuts on the existing models. So, basically the Slim has a retail price of £430 in the UK. You can actually get one now from multiple retailers for like £329, which is pretty great, I think.
That's a great deal now.
And the Slim with the disk drive, retail price $480. It's down to like $425 in those same retailers as well, which is pretty good. Obviously, not massive price cuts for a 5-year-old console compared to the original launch model, but even so, bearing in mind the kind of trajectory of prices going up and value going down, I think that's not too bad, actually.
It's getting down into like Switch territory somewhat.
Right.
I
think the point is, though, that Austin's kind of demonstrated that there's no real, unless you really like matte plastics like we do, there's no real advantage for waiting for the new model.
The only thing he didn't do that I'm disappointed on is I wanted to get his opinion on the taste of the liquid metal. He didn't try it, You always wonder, like, did they improve the taste of the liquid metal so you can sip it in your cocktail?
Yeah, and there was a distressing lack of a drop test. That seems to be part and parcel of phone coverage, phone review coverage. Let's do consoles as well.
I do want to say,
let's drop some consoles.
Oliver, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I hadn't really thought about it. But like, the PlayStation 4 was a really reliable console in the end. And I think that's a pretty cool thing to think about, because like as consoles are getting more powerful, like the reliability had been trending downwards, I would say, right? Like both 360 and PS3, especially those earlier models, it's like garbage tier reliability, just absolutely awful machines. They don't last. Like they would all break in time. PS4 though, even I still have a launch machine here. It works fine. So my one with PT on it that I bust out from time to time. And in fact, I would also say that Sony did good on the Vita as well from that era. Vitas have held up surprisingly well, even from the battery perspective. Like there's, and in fact, one of the weird trends I noticed in Tokyo is like Vita prices are on the rise big time. Like people are looking for Vitas, man. They're offering big money for trading in Vitas, and the prices of them are going up. People are like getting nostalgia for the Vita. But either way, like that whole Cerny generation of Sony hardware now that we're in, by and large, seems to be fairly reliable systems. Probably, I would say, the most reliable in Sony's history. I mean, PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 all had their share of major reliability issues. 1 and 2 being primarily disk drive problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 just being, I think it was the RSX or the Cell that would basically just die.
Like the RSX
I think
and that lead-free solder that really
Yeah.
hurt everyone back in that era.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that stuff.
That was certainly an issue.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're in a pretty good spot these days, and the same is true of Xbox, right? Like since Xbox One, I mean, the Xbox consoles have also been very reliable.